what's going on? Welcome in. It is the Wrestling Mat on the road. Yeah, doing a little visiting family and such. So I am on the road for this episode. Thank you for being with me. Obviously, no show yesterday, travel and internet and such like that, but wanted to make sure I was back here for you guys today on Friday, end of the week. Most interesting wrestlers of the week. We're going to talk about that today. Going to talk about the Full Gear show coming up tomorrow night for AEW. So we'll get into all that today. As always, I don't have Todd, but pretend Todd's here. But thewrestlingmatshow.com is where you can subscribe. You won't miss a thing. You can become a Mat member. And if you are a Mat member, get this first and foremost. You're getting it at 11 a.m. this morning. If you're a Mat member, everybody else gets it at 5 p.m. Eastern, whether it be here on YouTube or, of course, wherever you get your podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe. We're a part of the Believe Network, so you can get the show in the audio version only. Yeah, on the road here. Should be next week, but Thanksgiving is going to be weird. We'll get to that when we get to that. Unfortunately, because of my travel issues, I was not able to record the prospect list for NXT. I will try to have that for you early next week. Might give it another episode as we head into deadline in a couple weeks, but let's jump right into it. Thanks for being with me today. Put this one together. I don't even know when early Thursday, whatever it might be, because I'm moving around. Won't be seeing the live chat today, but of course, as always, leave your comments after the fact. Who are your most interesting wrestlers of the week? We started doing this a couple weeks ago, and as I've said, this is not about who had the best match or who was in the main event. It's about who made the most of their time this week. Maybe they did stand out in a match, not because of a win or a loss, but performance, a segment, a pre-tape, an interview, social media, a post, a Blue Sky post, whatever it might be. Comments made in an interview outside of the world of pro wrestling. Who are the most interesting pro wrestlers of the week? We're also going to be doing a little bit of a Full Gear preview. I will be doing a Full Gear reaction podcast for Busted Open after the show on Saturday night. I assume that'll hit at some point on Sunday. And then, we'll be heading into a big week for AEW. Continental Classic starting up next week. Hopefully they do a little, there's some March Madness elements to that. I think that would be great to explore. And, I think that tournament went well last year, but we'll get to that. We'll get to, I certainly have some interesting AEW wrestlers. I'll just go chronologically, very simply here. Going off of Monday Night Raw, I continue to be very invested in the New Day story. I'm a little confused as to why they haven't announced what day or what Raw will be the 10th anniversary. If you go by the dates, it would be the first Raw of December, I believe. And that would be the first Raw after Survivor Series. But once again, I think Xavier Woods is doing such a great job in this, and Kofi for that matter. Kofi is, I've heard this term before. He seems like a peace at all costs kind of guy. I think, as people know, Kofi very, very easygoing, whether that be on camera or in real life, and probably why he's been able to keep that same demeanor, keep that same positivity. Guys who have been doing it in that company for as long as he has, that can wear you down. That can make you grizzled. That can make you bitter. And I'm not saying Kofi wouldn't have, a gripe at some point, but, he's got a beautiful family, a great job. I feel like he's a rare long-term wrestler where I think everybody just pretty much likes Kofi. So he's been able to, that's him. That's what he's always been, a nice guy. Sure, he's made the jokes about, fight your kids or whatever. You ask anybody to a person, they'll tell you how great Kofi is outside of Trent Beretta, but that's a whole different story. So I think Kofi's fitting the role of what's going on very well. And Xavier Woods is the one who is taking things a little too personally. It seems like these conversations when him and Kofi are having them, they escalate so fast. And, Kofi's, and Woods gets angry and personal. What do you mean it's about me? And, Otis trying to calm him down. And then Woods has been pushing it. He takes that shot. He did it to Otis. He did it to Rey Mysterio a few weeks ago. He is angry. He seems to get triggered when anything that guy has gone wrong for the New Day comes back to him. He's been taking what's going on extremely personal. And I don't think Kofi's trying to do that to him, but that's the role they're playing. So, what is this going to lead to? I'm intrigued. I want to know. What does it mean for the New Day? But I think Xavier Woods is doing a great job in that role. And he's getting to show off just how good he is. And I hope he will continue to do that because it's certainly a very fresh, very intriguing story for the New Day. And, this drama, this lack of positivity, it's not what we expect from the New Day. We've seen that for so long. So there's this weird breath of fresh air just because those guys, even especially Woods, hasn't gotten a chance to kind of go down this path. And now they're getting to do that, and you're seeing them spread their wings a little bit. I talked about, Julia Hart last week on here. I wrote about her for the DraftKings Network, and just, you're seeing when people are given the chance that they can spread their wings and they can make the most of it. I think that's what's happening right now with Xavier Woods. You're getting to see someone who's always been supremely talented, but has been, I don't want to say stuck, but I don't think the New Day can have as much creativity as we know they can. How much of that makes TV? How much of that actually makes it into their characters? How much it actually makes into the stories? Very creative guys, Woods especially. Now we're seeing that creativity come out in his character. And you're seeing a depth to him that was never explored before. I think that's the crux of this. It was never explored before. So now we're getting that. And it's a great example of characters mattering. How many matches has Woods lost? Have they lost? Is that hurting the New Day's reputation? No. It's making them question themselves or what's going wrong, but you're still intrigued. You're still interested. And that goes back to me saying, pushes or good booking. It's not about championships and winning. It's about presentation. It's about people being invested in characters. Yeah, they booked losing streak angles before, and this is not that. This is not trying to get back up. It's are we doing what we should be doing? And I assume we're going to lead to something where it's, hey, maybe this isn't working anymore. And we see where that goes from there. I covered that a lot last week. We did post that up at thewrestlingmatchshow.com over the last couple days. I did a lot more on that with Woods. So he's in the conversation. Someone else who I guess is technically still in somewhat of a faction, but has had more chances in the last few months to go out on his own, and that's Ludwig Kaiser. And I thought, last week someone had mentioned to me that what they did with Kaiser and Gunther, I don't know, last week or the week before, or recently, whatever it was, that, it was like Gunther was showing signs of being a babyface. And I didn't take it that way. And then what happened this past Monday kind of confirmed that to me. Gunther can tell Ludwig Kaiser to go be out on his own, and he doesn't need him to speak for him. And that is not Gunther, showing sympathy and being a babyface. That's his guy. Other than when Vince had them get slapped around, which was stupid for a little bit. Like, they have been tight for a long time. What that faction has been for years and beyond WWE, there's been no question of loyalty. Now, Vinci's out and whatever, but Kaiser and Gunther, they've been there. They've been there for a long time. And for Gunther, and this is a great example of not limiting a talent, a wrestler, to his or her story, and that's it when they're locked in. Yeah, he's the world champ right now. And yes, Gunther is kind of going through some stuff, as we covered yesterday. Why is he being booked so weak? But Kaiser is now in a spot where, hey, my guy, Gunther, the world champ, is telling me go out on my own. I have Priest. I'll take care of it. Does he? Well, it didn't look like he did Monday. But telling Kaiser, hey, you got to go do your own thing. You don't have to speak for me here. I think that was just him looking out for him. I don't think that's a baby face move. That's him looking out for his guy. Not all heels have to talk down to those that are close to them. Not everything has to be what Roman did to the Usos and Sami and all that, where, yeah, we're together, but it's still about me. That doesn't have to be how it is all the time. Heels who are on the same side of things can just like each other. And it doesn't always have to be, the top one calling the shots and everybody falling in line. No, that was Gunther saying, hey, go out there and do something for yourself. And that's what Kaiser did. He wrecked that IC title match. He also said something interesting. I may have looked at this differently under Vince than I did when he said it on Raw. But when he attacked Braun and he attacked Sheamus, when he was yelling at Sheamus and ran around the ring and crushed him in the steps, it was, why can't you just go away? Why can't you just be gone? I'm going to end that kind of stuff. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. And when you say those things, and this is not just a Vince thing, this is pro wrestling. When you make such big statements like that, that typically means there's something to follow through. That typically means, they caught that on camera. He said that. I think he said it for a reason. I think there is a story to tell with Sheamus trying to get that IC title. And Kaiser saying, hey, you're in my way of me making a name for myself. And Sheamus has no interest in slowing down. He's still a hell of a wrestler. He still wants that IC title, still take on anybody. There is not an even comparison. But if you think about when Sheamus was coming up in ECW, his first veteran feud was Goldust. Now, that's a long time ago, and Dustin is still, rocking and rolling. He was at the AEW All In party the other day, obviously being close to there, and championships, the Ring of Honor, blah blah blah, all that stuff. So he's still going. But at the time, that's kind of what that was. Goldust, the veteran, against the you knew young up and comer Sheamus, and Sheamus is kind of taken on that role in the last couple of years, and I think that's where we're at with Kaiser. Now, they've had their battles multiple times over the last few months, but I wonder if those statements by Kaiser are going to lead to something big, something more with higher stakes. Sheamus's career, IC title shots, or whatever it may be, or banishment from Raw. It could be anything like that. But Kaiser has had it. And he's had it for a while. And it's just about giving it an opportunity. I think he checks a lot of boxes. He's a very interesting pro wrestler. He has been. nerdy dude mentioned, he gave us the translation. We appreciate that, of Gunther saying, "Make your dad proud." And as I said yesterday, or whatever it was, a couple days ago, that hasn't been explored. I'm not saying there's a baby face running Ludwig Kaiser. I think he's too smug. I think he's too smarmy. Maybe eventually, but his whole thing is A+ aesthetics, and I look like this. And that's such old school pro wrestling. I look like this. I talk like this. My hair looks perfect. My abs are unbelievable. I have A+ aesthetics. None of you look like me. That's for a time, that's what pro wrestling was. You went to go see these guys because they were larger than life superhero like baby faces, or you had the heels that wanted to cut the baby faces down, but also you can't be me. You'll never look like this. You slobs are sitting out there. Look at me. You drink your beers and you have your crappy food, and I will look like this, and you will pay money, your hard-earned money, to see me take out your favorites. The jealousy of Sonny and Sable back in the day. This is for the men who want to see me and the women who want to be me. That's, it's why Dominic having Rhea and now Liv has worked. It's like that guy, that wimp with the bad haircut and the mustache and treating his dad like crap. He gets Rhea. Now he gets Liv. That's pro wrestling 101 jealousy towards a heel. Ugh. Hatred. How did he get her? What does she see in him? And what does it get? Get some heat. Get some heat. Not about his wrestling. No one talks about Dominic's wrestling matches, and they don't need to. That stuff's background. He can lose forever. Doesn't matter. He's still in the Judgment Day. He still has Liv Morgan. He had, whatever you want to call it, had, dated, but I don't know. He's getting heat because of what he portrays. It has nothing to do with his matches, which is very telling. But Kaiser, yeah, I'm hopeful for him as we move closer to the new year. Moving over to NXT, I spoke about it a bit. They told a really, really good story with Chase U and Ridge Holland. And I detailed that a lot yesterday and putting the heat on Ridge. I want to put everybody from that match in this conversation, but I'm going to focus on Ridge. I know I talked about it a little bit yesterday or whenever it was. Sorry, losing track of days and travel and all that. But I've seen other people kind of know, hey, they've done a pretty good job with Ridge. There's been a restart here. You go back to his early NXT days, and he had that horrific injury, and then he came back, and then he comes up to, Brawling Brutes, and I interviewed those guys. Him and Pete and Sheamus were good together. I don't think it was something that was going to let Ridge or Pete reach their full potential. Butch just kind of, you got to keep him in line, and you never know what he's going to do. He did fine with it. I had fun doing interviews with them. But the potential and the ceiling was limited in that group. And now Ridge going back to NXT, and I didn't like the injury story they told initially. And then, he ends up in Chase U, which is weird. But what does he do? He attacks. And the one thing I will say is, regardless if I ever thought that Chase U would make it on Raw or SmackDown, they are beloved in NXT, and they played a very important role as NXT's forever baby faces. You went on as ridiculous as it sounds, you watched a university, recruit Thea Hale, get their MVP and do cuts, and you saw them battle through Andre Chase's gambling issues and stuff with JC and Thea and all that. it's been a journey. It's been a story, and people have enjoyed it and they like them. And yeah, as I said, at some point that would all, have to come to an end to realize the potential of some of these people. Kind of similar to the Brawling Brutes in a way, in that there was more for these people to do, but they have made Ridge the big bad. And he's done a really good job. He is not likable at all. He comes across as a bully in the best way possible. He comes across as someone who has been on the ups and downs and has had different partners, and been on Raw and been on Smack. He's been through a lot. Like, go look at Ridge's career. There's a lot there. And it hasn't always been good, but there are some moments there. Man, this guy's done a lot of stuff in a short period of time. There's a lot of experience there that he now has, and I think that's NXT. You're seeing a guy who's putting it together. Who's been around for a while. God, he was doing stuff with McAfee and all those guys way back. So he's, there's been something to Ridge for quite some time. And now he has taken all of that, and it seems like he's putting it together, and they see it in him, and he's delivering. And they had a really good, emotionally charged match. And Ridge got to grab all the heat from that. And he did so in a way where there is absolutely nothing to like about him, which is what heels should be. He ended something people loved. They took that shot of everybody, of Duke and Thea and Riley and Andre Chase looking at that they put it all on the line. And Ridge took them all out. And then he ended Chase U. And NXT's lovable university goes away because of Ridge Holland, who now has a ton of heat on him in the best way going into a match with Trick Williams at Deadline. I know Trick just won the title back. And I'm not saying Ridge should win. But I don't know if I would call it a lock. Now, do you want Trick losing already again and chasing? Maybe you don't. But there's something here in Ridge. And it's something that, well, yeah, you build up heels for your babyface, stuff we've talked about with Cody. You've figured something out here in a men's division that is not very deep in NXT. I don't think I would have expected to say this 6 months ago or even further back, but Ridge Holland has become pretty damn good at his job. A valuable asset in NXT, and someone who now has been given the chance to be a bully. And he's wide, he's thick. He's not super tall, but he carries himself quite well, and his promos are good. They're very angry and biting and get out of my way or I'll take you down. I really like what he's doing, and I'm interested to see where they go with this. I'll move over to AEW, move over to Dynamite, and really the last week. Claudio Castagnoli has always been, I think, similar to Kofi, babyface or heel, and he's been both. But someone everybody's always liked. Oh, he should be world champ. Oh, he should get the push. Blah, 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 blah. And look, I believe all those things. I believed all those things when we worked together in WWE. I believed all those things when I went over to AEW. I was happy to see him be ROH champion, all that stuff. The big reason, and maybe the reason people like him, is because he's so damn good. And all he's been is good at what he does. And that's made him a great tag wrestler, a great faction member. But it's rarely put him first and foremost. And yes, it's Moxley's group. It's the Death Riders. But similar to how Shelton Benjamin is being presented in the Hurt Syndicate, not as a lackey, not as someone to take pins for Bobby Lashley, no. Someone who is dangerous. I wrote about this for the DK Network last week about, Hurt Syndicate and all that. And I said, Shelton lost Swerve, sure, okay. But Shelton's been able to get, something back on Swerve at least once. He's not an afterthought. He's not as secondary, maybe even as he was in the Hurt business in WWE or other spots in his, he's in Team Angle, World's Greatest Tag Team, faction. But Shelton has been presented as a formidable part of this faction that you have to worry about. Yes, Bobby Lashley is the world champion. Bobby Lashley is a bigger star. But it doesn't mean that everybody else in the group needs to be lesser than. Yes, there are going to be factions where there are people in there who take the bumps, take the pins, and that's fine. Look at the Jericho Appreciation Society. Or, look at what Daddy Magic and Angelo Parker did. Cool. They talk trash. They were the smaller guys in the group. They get bounced around. I still remember when they wrestled against Sting. Their job was to go out there and bounce around. Shelton Benjamin's job is not to go out there and bounce around. He's to go out there and dominate. Not to steal that from Bobby. He's to go out there and look formidable. And I bring all that up to say that's how Claudio is being presented. I don't think anybody, really outside, I guess, Yuta, and that's intentional, is being portrayed as lesser than in the group. Marina, Pac, Claudio. There is a viciousness to all of them. And I think Pac's always had that. I think Marina's always had that to an extent, and Moxley. Claudio's always been, my God, he is a monster. He is so strong. He's pound for God, the feats of strength. But it hasn't really been him wrecking people for the sake of being evil. He was just a great wrestler, and sometimes he was aligned as a heel, sometimes he was aligned as a baby face. But, I don't think he was ever given the chance to be vicious. And I think we're seeing him get that chance. I'm going to end Darby Allin. I was so excited when that match was announced. Press slam, all that stuff. He is coming across as a killer. And he's a very believable killer because of how good he is. But now you're seeing a little extra, a little more. Cut the promo the other night where he got his chance to do that. And I happen to think that this group has been some of his best work ever as a character and in terms of his presentation. I think this group has benefited him and Marina the most. Marina's taken on an entirely different persona than we had seen and is being presented in a way that you do not want to mess with her. And if Moxley says, she stands beside me, that carries a lot of weight. But now Claudio is getting a chance to really tap into his ability and power and combine that with a viciousness that this group exhibits and puts out there. And it has made him very interesting to me. with the C2 coming up. He's one of those guys that is built for that tournament. And they have a lot of people like that. He doesn't have to go chase championships. I think it's, they're all on the same page. It's not about, I'm going to go after the international title, the TNT. I don't think it's about that. But he's getting an opportunity to be everything we know he can be, and he fits quite well. And I will always watch him, but I watch him differently now because I think that ability to just destroy people is now being allowed to be shown. Not just having great matches, not that famous hot tag when he took out Gallows and Anderson. That's an exciting wrestler. This is him beating people up in a way that only he can. This is him turning up the intensity. There you go. And he got to do that on Wednesday with Darby. His job was to take care of Darby. He carried it out. Darby's going to have to keep battling back. This is good. Let Darby keep being that underdog. Let him get beat down. Let him keep fighting back. That's what he does. Those are the main ones, I think, for this week. Let's get into Full Gear a little bit here. 9-match card right now. Quickly here, the Mina Mariah celebration. There was the story that Toni Storm retired. What? And the whole interview is great. It's with SB Nation. So Mariah doesn't have a match on Full Gear, and Mina's going to throw her a celebration. I don't know if that's Mina, ending up against Mariah, or somebody else coming back, or it being Toni. Or maybe Willow. I don't know. They've done that already, I guess. But you're going to put a segment on a pay-per-view, something's going to happen. MJF and Roderick Strong. MJF, obviously, not around, not in the arenas, filming movies, doing stuff. They're pushing off him and Cole coming back together, I assume. And I think Roddy has had a really good year for AEW. A very reliable year. Roddy's always been a hell of a worker. He's one of those guys that is going to eat up minutes in the best way possible. I'm glad he's getting this opportunity. We'll see how Cole gets involved, and I know Kyle tried to talk him out of it. This looks like a spot for MJF to win. And hopefully he's, back in the mix in more of a live setting soon. But we're going to see him on Saturday. Jay White and Hangman. A rematch. A good rematch here. Happy to see this be a rematch. Happy to see that these two guys have kept it up. And, Hangman lost and was looking for retribution, and people were, me included, surprised in a way of, man, these two guys are already facing each other. And it went the way it did. You wonder if the winner of this is in line for a title match. But I think they can have another great match. Hangman, Hangman's not at the top of the card where he was, but he can get right back there at any time. Good spot for both of them. The tag match. I enjoy that Private Party, since winning, have gotten to kind of take a step back and be the champs. And celebrate being the champs. And be presented as the champs. And everybody else has had to come for them. they've watched all those matches, and now they get the Outrunners, and they get Kings of the Black Throne, and they get the Acclaimed. So you got to mix of baby faces and heels in there. You're not going to be Private Party yet, but it's a good way to kind of, I don't want to say restart the division, but a non-Young Bucks presentation. Here we go, Private Party. As I said when they won them, let's see if this can work. Let's see if this can get rolling. So they'll have a good match. Mercedes against Statlander. It feels like Chris has done everything to neutralize Camille. That's what the story that's been told. She's hurt. Shida and Chris had a pretty solid match the other night, and then Camille and Mercedes come out and all that, and Mercedes tries to take down Chris, and Chris reverses it and drops her on her head. I don't think Mercedes is losing yet. The relaunch of Statlander away from Stokely and the fact that they did explain it has been a good thing. I think people want to like Chris Statlander. She's just one of those people. And they did a bit of a reset, and it was a logical reset. Are her and Willow ever going to be friends again? Maybe. They can keep them apart. But this feels like it could be a pretty good one on paper. I'm hoping so. I'm a little surprised at the neutralization of Camille. Jack Perry and Garcia for the TNT Championship. And he did the car angle with the bus the other night, collision, and kind of revealed that they took him somewhere. They were torturing or whatever. And Jack never flinched. And I think what they were doing was, and even Daniel Garcia said it, I got to do what I got to do. And it was almost like Perry was going, cool. Yeah, I've always been doing that. You're learning it. This is where you want to be. Basically, they've told the story of Jack dragging Garcia down to his depths. And Garcia's playing right into that. And if I had to guess, Garcia will get pushed too far and make a mistake, and Jack will win. And it will be a psychological victory. Not only just a championship defense, but a psychological victory of, hey, Garcia, I pulled you to my level, and it threw you off your game. And I beat you because I did that. And it's good character development for Daniel Garcia. Because we haven't seen him get to do this stuff. He's danced, or he's been a great wrestler. You can hear the anger and the frustration and almost the desperation of, I got to do something. And that Magic's been pushing him along with that. That's fine, but there's. It feels like, in a way, even though he was tied to a bus and tied to like Jack knows exactly what he's doing in not letting this happen, but letting Garcia fall to these depths. Swerve and Bobby Lashley. Really well done across the board. We saw Bobby squish Cheeseburger, and I think it was beef the other night. And a very Bobby presentation, as it should be. And then Swerve got something back on him and outsmarted him with none, and that was good. Bobby ain't losing on Saturday, nor should he. It's a testament to Swerve. I think I've said this recently, that despite losing pay-per-views and losing the world title, still super over. People love him. People want to get behind him. And that tells me he is established. Not easy. When you look at the trajectory of Swerve of the year he's had, to finally get to where he needs to be the world champion, to have great matches, great feuds, and the stuff with Hangman and Danielson and all that. And in that same year, after those achievements, he has lost big matches. And yet, the people are still with him. And he has persevered because he has gotten to the level where that's not going to set him back like it would be somebody else. Maybe they're not quite ready yet. No, Swerve's ready. And I think Swerve and Bobby can tell a hell of a story. And it's Bobby's pay-per-view debut. And Swerve's a babyface. He can afford a loss. He can afford to get that sympathy put on him. I've really liked how this story has been told. I think everybody has done their job extremely well. The Hurt Syndicate presentation is excellent. It's everything it should have been in WWE. And as I wrote about last week, it's now happening with fans. They didn't get a chance to be the Hurt Business with fans in the building, and now they are. And they're getting to literally flex their muscle in a different way. And MVP has commented on, they wanted to make us Nation of Domination 2.0, and they would avoid the conversation. As far as I know, all of that is true. Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. I was talking to someone the other night about Kyle, and I've said it here. I was talking to somebody from AEW, I think I was. And I was like, man, the transformation of what he was with the shiny red pants and, the floppy haircut, I don't mean this negatively. He looked like a flippy guy. It's not a bad thing. But I think for some fans, there's a perception that way of that's limiting, especially as more of a heel. And now with the shaved head and the trunks, he's not small. I've stood next to him. He's never been small, but I think the presentation now is bigger. I made the comparison to Miz. Hold on. I know Kyle Fletcher and Miz are not the same person. But, Miz has told the story when he had to do the Calgary Kid gimmick for the night, and he wore trunks, which he had never worn before, and his legs were out. Vince saw him and was like, keep the trunks on, pal. And he did. And instead of wearing those awful shorts with that fedora and the Chick Magnet t-shirt, Miz evolved his look to the next part of it, and he looked more legitimate. And he looked more credible. I mean, his old look was awful. Not to say Fletcher's look was bad. It wasn't. It's an evolution of that. And now he presents as bigger, more dangerous, more vicious. And I think he's wrestling in that way. And now he's wrestling against, obviously, his in story, former best friend, but I think he's not. It's not right. And I think Will is going to give Kyle everything he possibly can in this match. I think it's a match that Kyle should probably find a way to win, and cheating is fine there, as if to say, see, I was right all along. We could have been tag champs if you just listen. I think there is something to, and I think Kyle needs that win. And once again, much like Swerve, Will's fine. Will can afford the loss. I like what they have, though. I really, really like what they have. Have I hit everything here? Oh! AJ versus QT on 0 Hour. I have heard some wonderful things about the segment that will air on Rampage with AJ and Big Justice. As we found out, the Rizzler. I'm not like 8 years old. I'm not. He's going to be the timekeeper. The promo package with the phone that got bigger was awesome. The music at the end was awesome. And you're going to go, what the hell are you talking about? They nailed this. QT's in there to make AJ look like $1 million. AEW is reaching into a world that has established fan base. They're massive in terms of their reach. You lean into that. It's not different than using celebrities in WWE or using social media people. And the key is that you can tell they're into it and it's genuine. You can use celebrities or social media stars or whatever, and it's pretty quick to sniff out when they don't care, or they're just making an appearance and they're not invested, and that's okay. You think back to the guest hosts of Raw, Jeremy Piven saying Summerfest, and people not knowing stuff. And I've interviewed, I had celebrities that I interviewed. It was like, well, this will grab us, more views, and it didn't, because people, unless the celebrities are totally on board. Unless the celebrities are on board and really want to invest in doing the show, I don't think fans are going to care. They're going to sniff that out. But if you get a Johnny Knoxville, say what you will about him as a human, Logan Paul, I'll do it. Bob Barker, even when he did, he was great. The guy was an indie wrestler, and now he's a, social media superstar with his son and his family and Rizzler and all this stuff. But he's in. The guy's a promo machine anyway. So here you go. And am I getting serious about Big Justice and AJ against QT Marshall and Full Gear 0 Hour? Yeah, it's pretty, the nuts and bolts of this are really good. QT knows exactly what his role is. And he's played it well, and he'll continue to play it well. And if everything I heard about the segment they had on Rampage is true, it will be even better. So very, very well built. Really nice. Really nice job. All right, Moxley and Cassidy, talked about this a little bit earlier. That's related to Claudio. I happen to like, and I've seen opinions all over this. I liked the end of Dynamite this week. I liked that they did, Orange won, not a surprise. I liked that they did one of their beatdowns with the tape job and all that, and they walked out and he got back. Because to me, that gets under Moxley's skin. Puts the glasses on, puts his hands in his pockets. I'm still this guy. You did not crush my spirit and who I am. No. You can keep beating me down. I'm going to keep getting back up. Which tells me they're probably going to have to take it even further on Saturday. And people will be behind Orange. I think there's going to be like 7,000 people there. I think they're going to have, as they have had before, although this one will be different, a really good match. I think Orange will be someone who has to keep battling back and keep battling back, and then Mox is going to have to take it somewhere else. And he is going to have to destroy Orange Cassidy in his first defense of the AEW World Championship. It has to be that way. It's just where the story is. And Orange is a right first opponent. And we've gotten to see a little bit more of him. I still think people want to just like your typical, hey, I'm here, Orange. And I'm okay with that. But I like that he's been able to evolve in this. And he's been a beloved babyface in the company from the jump. And that won't change. And it's exactly the kind of first opponent that Moxley should have. Much like I talk about, you need that heel factory for a babyface champ. You need a heel in Moxley's role to have baby faces that people love and want to get behind and have sympathy for. You got to line them up for Moxley to take them out, to just continue to build that heat. It's, they did it with Roman for 3 years. I don't think they're going to do it with Moxley for 3 years, but it's the same idea. Will we know about what's next for Moxley? That I'm intrigued by. And I wrote an article recently for the DK Network about the opponents I'd like to see him face. And Orange on the list, and that wasn't a surprise, but who are the next baby faces? Is there going to be someone to confront Moxley? Is that I have, someone's got to step up and go, okay, I'm next. We're going to see. Pay-per-views are usually pretty good there. I think the crowd will be good. 9-match card right now, or 9-segment card right now, I think it is. Go back and watch November Rain. And then, of course, Continental Classic starting up next week. I love a good pick'em. Just throwing the G1 pick'ems all the time. I think that's a way to lean into the excitement of this, is to get people involved. Have a March Madness Expo. We will see, though. But I will see you guys. If you want to check out the Busted Open podcast on Sunday, I'll be talking about Full Gear. Obviously back next week. I'm working on schedule with travel and Thanksgiving. I don't think we'll have a lot of shows next week, but still a lot to get to. Heading into Full Gear, heading into Survivor Series. It's not a quiet time. And I love to say that as a wrestling fan. And it's not going to get quieter in December, where it typically is. So make sure you subscribe to thewrestlingmatshow.com. Become a member. You get the show earlier. 11 a.m. Eastern is when the members get it. 5 p.m. Eastern, whether it be here on YouTube or via podcast, which you can subscribe to right now. Head over to ProWrestlingTees.com/TheWrestlingMat to get your merch. If you're a member, you get a discount on that. Make sure you hit us up on social media at WrestlingMat23 at the Matt Camp. What do you want to see? Leave your comments down below. What do you think about Full Gear? Who are your most interesting wrestlers of the week? What do you think about my most interesting wrestlers of the week? Your picks for Full Gear. Want to hear it all in the comments, because I'll be back to talk about wrestling even more next time right here